can. There he is. Spidey to the rescue.
All right, we're live, right? And we're recording?
We're live, right?
All right, here we go.
You sure?
What? Yeah. No, I'm behaving myself. No, I'm not playing in abandoned buildings. What? Again? Now. I suppose you had those people follow me again. Fine. Hey, this is Jimmy Farrow from Monty and the Pharaoh, and I want to thank all our subscribers. We have now passed 14,000 on our YouTube channel. But I want to ask our subscribers to take the next step for us and become a full-fledged member of Monty and the Pharaoh. Yeah, that's right, folks. There's 3 different levels to choose from. There's free shirts. There's free autographs. Just check it out and become a member of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh. Later.
Welcome. Go, you're on. You're on. He said you're on. Go.
See, new producer, and I'm not even prepared again. Week 2.
Take it away, Mike.
All right, welcome to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler and broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, seen here out of Indie Music TV, filmed out of Ronkonkoma, New York. At the board is our producer, Jeff
right there.
Rumplick.
Yeah.
Jeff, how are you? Mike, not prepared. All right, we're getting better.
My
we're
mic
getting
isn't prepared
better.
No, it's
because
right
I'm doing
behind him. Give
other
him a
stuff.
What?
What was that?
What?
Doing other stuff.
I don't. Okay.
Doing other stuff.
I got you. Listen, this is week 2. You're doing okay. We got Spider-Man in the back.
We're
He's
saying
helping out.
Spidey.
Yeah.
We're very excited because we've got one of the, what would we say, the foremost, greatest sports photographers, if not the greatest pro wrestling
We've got the
photographer,
greatest pro
Mr. George
wrestling
Napolitano.
photographer in the history of this business. Yes.
And on the couch, we've got Ting Shi, indie pro wrestling superstar. Now, Monty and the Pharaoh, we don't do a lot of indie stuff.
No, we don't.
But Ting, I had a long talk with, and I'm pretty excited to meet him.
The man came from Binghamton. I mean, he drove 4 hours.
He drove 4 hours.
This guy rules.
Well, he doesn't know it, but
my
he's
God.
going to be on the same show with the greatest pro wrestling photographer
Not bad.
in the history of pro wrestling.
Not bad.
And on that couch that you're sitting on right now,
Oh, wow.
next week,
Ken Patera
you've got
almost
some
killed
of
us.
the greatest wrestlers of all time. And next week, you've got Santana and Valentine on that couch. Then the week after, you've got Coco Beware, Tommy Rich, Conquistador.
You know, I think that there's a governor coming in from
And
Minnesota.
then there's a governor from Minnesota coming in.
I think
And
he's
that's a
known
big
as
deal.
the Body.
All right, anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
Dolphin in Texas dies after harassment by beachgoers.
Why
A
do you
dolphin has
do this
died
every week?
after beachgoers on Texas Gulf
Every week.
Coast allegedly harassed and tried to swim and ride it.
A dolphin.
According to the Texas Marine Mammal Standing Network, the dolphin was stranded on the sand
Oh, come on,
on the
man.
beach when
Where
a
do you
group
get
of
this
people
shit?
surrounded the animal, pushed it back in the sea. The animal again then was stranded on the beach and died before rescuers could arrive on the scene.
Okay, let me see if I got this right.
Go ahead.
They come across, a bunch of partiers come across a dolphin that's stranded and probably suffocating and suffering. They push him back into the water like a good person would, and then proceed to do poses with him, torture him, and then wind up throwing him right back onto the beach.
Mm-hmm.
You pieces of shit! Are you kidding me? Why do you do this to me? This shit gets me angry. That's crap. What the fuck? What happened to these assholes? Anything? Are they going to get arrested? You cannot fucking do this to another living being.
Ting, what do you think?
He's on point. I agree with him.
That's right.
This is the world we live in now.
What kind of world is this?
This is the world me and him are exiting, and this is the world where
you're
going to make your
you get
living
to
on.
inherit this. Lucky you. Ugh, take Advil. You'll feel better.
To the right is the star of the show, Mr. Jimmy Farrow.
Oh, yeah. Hey, what's up? How you doing, folks?
So I haven't seen you get this angry
This shit,
over
how can you
a
not...
news
Listen,
story.
people may not know this about you, but you love animals. How is this not making you want to just bust somebody up? This is disgusting. You have to have no heart whatsoever.
Well,
I mean, what are we doing here?
First of all, what state did this happen in?
I don't know. It sounds like a Florida situation, probably.
Texas, right?
Oh, it's Texas? Well, you're going to pick on Texas now?
A lot of bad things.
You know what
happened
happens
in
when you
Texas.
pick on Texas? Stone Cold comes for you.
Oh,
Don't say anything about Texas.
Look, all I'm saying is Texas is known for
What?
Texas is known for not treating their animals well.
Really? I
There's
didn't
a lot of
realize this.
speciesism in
Oh,
the
that's-
great state of Texas.
Right, that's true.
So,
yeah,
again,
they do
I'm
like
not
but do they
gonna-
eat them at least?
I'm
I
not-
mean,
eat dog?
no, they shoot dogs too? Wow, this is bad, bro. I'm
Cats,
glad I don't
dogs.
look. Cats!
Cats.
Cats!
Cats.
Oh man, when are we going down there? We got to do. I'm
What
not
do you
going
think
to
the great
Texas.
George Napolitano is going to say about this?
I don't think he's going to like it, and I'm sure he would not photograph it. I'll tell you that. It's
I want to thank
sick.
the band that sings the
Sick.
theme song for the Monty and the Farrow Show. Our own Jimmy Farrow, along with his partner Bart Griggs, make up the band Wisteria Hall.
Buttman!
Wisteria Hall
Wow,
sings such
that
great
was
songs
rough.
as In My Dreams,
That
This
one
Life
was
Not
rough.
Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page.
Man, I'm tired.
Please hit the like and subscribe button.
Like,
Hear them on
subscribe.
Spotify,
Yeah.
Apple Music, and Reverb Nation. If you didn't know it, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Farrow. Probably, I'd have to say, the greatest pro wrestling broadcast in the history of pro wrestling broadcast.
Sure, why not?
We're just not discovered enough yet.
Yeah.
We're late to the game.
Wait till they get a load of us.
Wait till they get a load of us.
There you go.
You can catch Monty and the Farrow on the Monty and the Farrow YouTube page, the Monty and the Farrow Facebook Live page. Hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor. Catch us on the Monty and the Farrow Twitch TV page, and catch us on Channel 115 every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. and Saturday straight up against Saturday Night Live, and also on Channel 20 on Tuesdays at 1 a.m., where all three shows combined have hit a weekly total of how much, Farrow?
102,000.
There you go, brother.
Not bad.
Not too bad
Not
for some two old geezers.
Dude, it's better ratings than TNA. Bite me.
We want to thank Amazon Music, who has put the Monty and the Farrow Show on their network, and there's some other announcements will be coming on within the next few months. The
you
Monty and the Farrow channel has a lot to announce.
Yep.
We'll be right back with pro wrestling legend, and I'll say legend
Yeah,
again,
he is.
Mr. George Napolitano.
See you in a sec.
You want to star in your own success? Call QuickCast. www.quickcast.com. 866-7-CAST-NOW. That's 866-7-CAST-NOW. QuickCast.
Star in your own success. M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty the Farrow, seen only here out of Indie Music TV. Farrow, before we get to the star of the show, we have Chris Stevens says, you have a wonderful voice. Did you know that?
Oh, well, thank you. The Bart man was all crackly and stuff, though. I think I've been smoking too many of those non-filtered cigs.
You might have strained it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I might have, but thank you.
George, thank you for joining Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, my friend.
We see him.
We see him.
It's a great show.
There we go.
Gotcha.
You got him, Jeff? George, you want to run that compliment by us again? They cut you out.
Yep. Our
Cut me out.
already I get cut out. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to come on your show. It's an honor. Thank you.
It's our honor,
You
sir.
are so welcome.
So, George, let me ask you, how'd you hold up through the pandemic and everything that's been going on in this country?
2 years I stayed home and just scanned photos.
Are you serious? Really?
Just about, yes.
So,
It was
You-
March of 2020, I believe.
Yeah.
I came back from Met spring training, and then everything closed. And
Wow.
I stayed home, and after resting for a while, I started to delve through images, photos, negatives, slides, and scanned a lot.
Did you manage to avoid the virus over the last 2 years? I mean,
Yes,
you
I
stayed-
did. I haven't.
There you go.
I haven't gotten it.
There you go. Sweet. Me too.
In fact, I survived WrestleMania with a lot of people
There you
just a week or two ago.
There
did
go.
you enjoy WrestleMania?
I did very much. I thought they did a great job. To me, having it over 2 nights was much better than having it in one night, 7 hours, with me standing there trying to take pictures. It just got a little tedious. Over 2 nights, it broke it up. I enjoyed it a lot more. And I know you mentioned Stone Cold about Texas before. Seeing him again was a treat.
That had to be something. Are you a genuine wrestling fan? I mean, it might be obvious, but I'm asking. How
Well-
much do you love wrestling, considering?
Well, I used to love it more when I really did my own magazines.
Mm-hmm.
When I used to write the magazines and do all the photos, I loved it more. Then I really was more into it than I am now. For me now, I take photos, but I don't feel like I'm as involved as I was when the 80s, 90s, and O's for a bit.
George,
I've been
George, you
doing this
mentioned in New York.
actually-
Go ahead.
I'm going to say I'm actually been taking pictures for 50 years.
Wow.
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 Okay.
How do you feel about yourself being this icon in the world of pro wrestling? And let's not forget about sports too, that you're held in such high regard.
Well, it depends on who's calling me. I don't think I'm an icon. I don't get that. That's what you're saying to me. But to me, I'm just like the guy next to me taking pictures.
Right. You've kept it simple over the years. You just do your thing.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say that I'm a photographer, but through that time, for all the pictures I took, I used to write stories. But I don't get credit for all the magazines that I did, edited, and wrote stories for, and all the books that I put together.
What kind of emotions, when you, like you were saying you were going and you were scanning pictures, what kind of emotions did that draw from you? I mean, that's got to be an emotional journey, especially sitting at
Well, it
home.
brings me back. If I'm scanning something, it's Kevin Von Erich or Kerry Von Erich. I remember going to Texas, then I remember something that might have happened. It's going back through a lot of stuff. I pick it, no matter where I touch, I have photos of something or things that make me remember different instances in different times, in different places, different people. I noticed in your intro you had your photo with a lot of people, a lot of old friends I haven't seen in a while. It was a great opening you guys had.
I appreciate that. We're truly blessed to have this opportunity. We're just two fans that started a show for, giggles, and it became somewhat popular. So we know where we come from. So let me ask you this. We're both Yankee fans. You're a Met fan. What are you thinking?
I'm a Mets fan. No, I'm from Brooklyn. You started out with the Dodgers.
Sure.
You're in Brooklyn. You can't be a Yankee fan.
Agree. I understand. I understand. What was your
So
emotions?
I gravitated to the Mets. You're in Long Island. You should be a Met fan too.
How much do you remember of the Brooklyn Dodgers, if I can ask?
Actually, I remember a lot.
Okay. Okay. Well, you must have been
And,
very, very upset when they left.
Well, I was a young kid, and then you lose your team.
Mm-hmm.
So then when the Mets finally came in '62, I had a team to root for,
Right.
gravitate towards.
Right.
In fact, tomorrow I'm going to be at Citi Field. They're going to unveil a statue for Tom Seaver, and then it's opening day at Citi Field.
There you go.
I want to see opening day at Shea, but it's Citi Field.
Right. Right.
And so to answer your question, I was a lifelong Met fan. I went to the military, and when I got out, it was during the like early '90s with the Killer Bees and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Anyway, long story
Sure,
short,
Bonds of Bonilla. Sure.
Bobby Valentine made me an anti-Met fan.
Is that
Really?
when you put
That's how
the
simple it
mustache?
became.
Picking on Bobby Valentine. Well, I got to tell you, you've done a good job plucking that former Yankee manager because you got yourself a real manager right now. I think you're going
It
to do
was
great.
good.
Yeah.
I'm not a Yankee fan, but the Buck Showalter was a great mind. He knows
Oh, yeah.
what he's doing
Yep. Yep.
more than
You're-
what they've had in the past.
That is for sure. We call you an icon, obviously, George, because growing up, I was always aware of you. I always saw your name next to so many amazing photos, and I even would see you sometimes when I was at live matches, and I would always wonder, man, this guy is so lucky. But obviously, it's got to be more than luck. How did this all start?
Okay, well, as a young kid, I was a wrestling fan at one time, and I remember seeing Bruno Sammartino in early '60s. Bruno, Antonino Rocca, Pampero Firpo. I liked it. And then when the Beatles happened, you forget everything else, and I just wanted to be a Beatle, wanted to be a musician, and I learned how to play guitar, and I forgot all about wrestling. In 1970, there was a clipping in Daily News, Wrestling Tonight, and I told my girlfriend, who now I've been married to for 50 years,
Wow.
do you want to go to see wrestling? She says, wrestling? I said, yeah, I used to watch it years ago. And she said, okay. And I went to the garden. I brought my camera. And I said, oh, this is fun. And then they announced Sunnyside Gardens for the following weekend. And I said, I used to go to Sunnyside Gardens on a Saturday afternoon to see shows. And so we wound up going. And while I was there, I took pictures running up and down the aisle. And somebody stopped me and said, you must take good pictures. You got a great camera. I said, yeah, they're okay. Just if you want to, let me see them the next time you come here. So the next time I went there, I came with a bunch of photos. And the guy said, these pictures are great. You want to work for me?
Wow.
I work for Ring magazine.
Right.
Boxing magazine.
Sure.
They had a wrestling magazine, Ring Wrestling.
Yep.
I said, yeah, okay. And I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what he meant by do you want to work? I just said, okay. And that's how it started.
Did you ever foresee it turning into a half a century worth of snapping pictures?
No,
I
I
mean,
didn't foresee it lasting
I mean, my
following
God.
month. I mean,
Wow.
George, go ahead.
no, I'm going to say the fella's name was Sanchez Acosta. Brought me down to the dressing room, introduced me to Arnold Skolin, who was in charge backstage of everything. And Arnold said, "Stay out, enjoy yourself, kid, but stay out of wrestler's way." And that's and that was the creed I've lived by: stay out of the wrestler's way. And I went and shot ringside, not knowing what I was doing, and it led to whatever. I met Jimmy Valiant. He became my first article, my first story, and I befriended the Grand Wizard, who then introduced me everywhere. And that's how it started, really.
And back then, they made you keep kayfabe, I'm assuming, for these articles that you wrote.
You know, but people say that, but when you were reporting on stuff, what am I going to say? Oh, no, that's not really Chief Jay Strongbow. It's Joe Scarpa. I'm writing about what you see in the ring.
Right.
I wasn't there to divulge any secrets, like that. People didn't write about the baseball players outside of the incident with Billy Martin and Mickey Mantle at the I forgot where
At
where
the
they
club.
were.
Yeah.
At the club. But before that, you didn't read about what people did on the outside until Jim Bouton wrote Ball 4, maybe.
Right.
You reported on what you did and what you saw, and that's what I did.
Right.
I didn't try to fake anything or keep anything from anybody or kayfabe. I mean, it's just the way I lived and what I did.
How were you welcomed by the pro wrestlers when you first came into the business? I mean, anybody give you a hard time?
Not at all. Well, the Grand Wizard introduced me around, and I had somebody who introduced me, and he actually brought me to Vince McMahon Sr. Says, if we need anything, this guy can really help us. This guy's really good, and we just went from there. And once they seen you, and they saw that you didn't divulge what you're not supposed to, you Just if you did your job like you were supposed to, you had no problem. And I had no problem. That's what it was. And then I would travel to different territories, and I would always run into somebody who I knew from, call it New York, call it from the WWWF, who then would say, "Oh, this guy's good. He took care of me when I was in New York." And then he would bring guys to me, whether it was Blackjack Mulligan in Mid-Atlantic or whatever. Just so many different people I would run into, different places.
You know, you
And then
mentioned
I remember running into Superstar Graham in Houston.
Right.
And then I did a whole bunch of stories on him. And then when he was coming to New York, he called me, and we became friends. But that's how it was, you know. You just build on what you did and what you had and what you knew.
You mentioned earlier about when you were down in Texas with the Von Erichs. What was the dynamics with the Von Erichs at that time when you were there?
Well, they were their whole lineup, their whole crew were young wrestlers. Brian Adidas, Iceman Parsons, Gino Hernandez, all the Von Erichs, Kerry, Kevin, Chris, Michael, David. They were all young guys, and they were catering then to a younger audience than what used to watch wrestling in New York. And you always got the kids, yes, and then you would get the older fans. The Von Erichs were getting the 18 to 25 that really were no longer into wrestling or wouldn't have been into wrestling. And their shows at the Sportatorium were real exciting and real good. They were doing things that you didn't see a lot of other wrestlers doing. I mean, now what they do is crazy, but at that time when you saw the Von Erichs doing what they did, it was ahead of its time.
How difficult has it been for you to photograph wrestling as it's changed? Because as you said, now it's crazy. I mean, how does the great George Napolitano find the right spot when they're flipping and cartwheeling a million miles an hour?
Let's see, but watching it and doing it and being involved for so long, you kind of know who's going to do what and where they're going to be. I just have it's just an instinct. I just shot MLW, Major League Wrestling, where I was in Texas.
Hammerstone.
I did their show on a Friday, and I did their show on a Thursday night. I did their show on a Friday afternoon, with all people flying over my head and what have you. But I learned from ECW how to stay away from ladders, and then from in Puerto Rico how to avoid the flames of fire around the ring, and just what to do and what not to do. You always have to look for the person next to you, and know that the camera, the video camera, is on to your right or to your left because they can't see you. You know, and look, I've seen matches my whole life, but through this little hole in the back of a camera. I don't have the here it is. That's the viewfinder. I don't have the wherewithal to sit and watch a match full screen and then watch it replay and then criticize it. I was just watching it through the circle.
Right.
And
George, you've been around so many legends in your career. Which wrestler would you say was your closest friend?
Every era was different. When I say every decade was different, probably Superstar Billy Graham. If you want to say if anybody, Superstar Graham. I met him in Houston, Texas, and then when he came to New York, he was a bodybuilder, and I went to the World Bodybuilding Federation, took pictures of him, and then I would pick him up at the airport and drive him to Boston and Providence and Connecticut and wherever. That was probably the guy. But then I was close with Steve Austin. I was close with The Rock. I was close with a lot of people in different times. The Grand Wizard. The early in the 70s into the early 80s until he unfortunately passed. Friends with the Wizard, who then introduced me to the Sheik in Florida. I see you got the picture with the Rock. I remember him. He came up to me when he first came into the WWF, and he says, "I know you my whole life. You photographed my grandfather. You photographed my father. If there's anything I can do for you ever, please, you gotta ask me." But I didn't need to ask him. I was okay. I'm not saying I know everything, but it was his offer. And then every time he's seen me since then, and I was taken at the Time 100. He was one of the Time 100 greatest celebrities of that era. I believe that was 2-3 years ago. And when I saw him again, he gives me a hug. Every time he sees me, he makes sure they ask, how am I doing? Do I need anything? And what do I want?
We recently lost Scott Hall. Your memories of Scott Hall? I saw a photo with you at the beginning of Scott's career. What's your memories of the great Razor
Well,
Ramon?
he was. I knew him as Scott Hall with Kurt Hennig, and I remember taking him after the matches. I took him to a place called Shout, which was a 60s, 70s club in 47th Street in the city. And I took him all around. Took him to the Carnegie Deli. I took him to a bunch of places after the matches, and we just formed a bond. He was just a great, great guy. Then he became Razor Ramon. Oh yeah, people say he had an attitude. He had this, he had that. But to me, he was very nice, and I reciprocated. We were really friendly, and I felt really bad. You know, I don't want to say too much, but it's unfortunate what happened to him.
Oh yeah.
To me, he was a great guy. He lived his part. He loved what he was doing. He was sensational. Really, really nice.
Are you friendly with Billy Graham currently? Do you still speak to Superstar?
I speak to him occasionally, but we're not. We have lost touch, so to say.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
it. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's had different. He's had a lot of different things, from injuries and different problems that he's had, and we are no longer close like we were.
Okay.
But if I were to see him or he were to see me, we'd still be tight.
Do you think Billy is kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like ruining his legacy with his bitterness over the last
Yes,
10
I do.
years?
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely do.
We kind of feel that
I
way
definitely
too.
do. And like we drifted apart for that kind of reasons. I mean,
Really?
but yes, he had a legacy, and he was great, and what he did when he did it. He was the prototype of Hulk Hogan. I mean, in all honesty, he was Hulk Hogan before Hulk Hogan. He had the pythons. He had the 26-inch pythons, and a lot of people copied from him, including the governor that you're going to have on your show in a couple of weeks,
There you
who
go.
copied Superstar Graham. At that time, a lot of people did. And prior to Superstar, there were very few wrestlers who had a muscular physique like that. There was Earl Maynard and maybe Rocky Johnson. Always had a great body. But the wrestlers at that time were not known for their physique, for their body. They were a lot of them were heavy and whatever, out of shape and characters. That was what wrestling was. And I think Superstar is the one that kind of changed it to the more muscular look.
Do you think it was wrong to take the belt off him? Because he always bitches about that to this day.
He bitches about it, but you know what? Everything has its time. They could have. Could they have gone longer with him? Oh, definitely. People were cheering him, and to what I know, the McMahons didn't know how to control him. They didn't know what they can do with him. They were afraid. They were afraid. They had something that was going to be bigger than what they are. It was Mr. McMahon Sr. and Vince Jr.
Yeah. So you were in Madison Square Garden all those years. We had Bob Backlund in studio. We have this great respect for Backlund.
Oh, yeah.
But, he got a bad reputation saying that he couldn't carry a card. You were in those Garden matches. You saw the crowd. Did you think Backlund...
The people didn't come to see the undercard. They came to see the main event.
I agree.
The undercard was the icing on the cake.
Right.
That was the extra. But all during that era, and I want to pick 74, 5, 6, 7, 8, WWF. They used to sell out the Garden. Then they used to sell out the Felt Forum on our screen to watch it. So it wasn't like it wasn't that big. The MSG once a month was the pay-per-view, so to say. And they used to advertise, if you don't come, you ain't going to see it. You had to be there for to be part of the part of
Yep.
what was going on.
Especially before the days of cable television. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
That is for sure. You know, you've worked for Senior and Junior. What sort of relationship did you have with those two?
Well,
Vince?
Mr. McMahon Senior was the one who really got behind me. He was really nice, and I was the unofficial official WWF photographer. If they needed something, they knew they would call me. I mean, people always ask what's your most famous picture, and it was the one with Andre holding up the
Yes.
four women.
Yeah.
Man,
Andre
oh, man.
two and two.
That's so great.
And I took that in Philadelphia. Mr. McMahon stopped me in Philadelphia early on and said, I need a picture of Andre to show his strength and his size. And I says, you know what? You got the woman on the card tonight. Can we take a picture of Andre with the girls? Not knowing what it was going to be. And he said, oh, yeah. Have Arnold get the woman. So Arnold went and called all the girls, Arnold Skolin it is. And here's Andre. They said hello, and Andre puts his arm down and puts his other arm down. Two girls get on his left arm, two girls get on his right arm. He picks them up. I take one picture, take two pictures. Boss, got it? I says, got it, boss. And that was it. I took two pictures. I couldn't look in the back of the camera to see if the exposure was right, see if the flash went off. I took two photos, and that's what I did.
So he basically just picked them up like tablespoons.
They picked up two
Unbelievable.
on one hand, two on the other.
Unbelievable.
Stood up. People say, "Oh, that's not the one," but that's a recreation.
what is-
All right. Well,
Wait
of
a
course,
second.
that's Jeff for you.
Jeff!
Good job, Jeff. Well done.
It's
That's
okay,
okay.
George.
That's
You
a
can laugh, George.
recreation.
Please laugh, George.
Those girls
my
are
God.
midgets.
So,
that's
who
okay.
took this
But that's
one?
the idea.
Ken
They
Napolitano?
recreate-
What's going on here?
They
Whatever.
recreated the photo. That was
That's
it.
a pit drawing, Farrell.
Oh, is that what it is? I got sunglasses. Oh, so do you. Never mind. Never mind. Unbelievable. But it was
Well,
that
that's okay.
effortless
That
for
was
Andre,
really
huh, George? That effortless to just be able
that
to
was
just
that was the idea. And
wow.
so Mr. McMahon, and also too, when there was the Ali and Noki thing,
Right.
and Ali came to Philadelphia, and I took pictures of Ali getting in the ring with Gorilla Monsoon. Monsoon tosses him, and as soon as it was over, Mr. McMahon said, "Can you do something with that?" I says, "I'll bring it to New York." And I drove from Philadelphia to UPI in New York, and I used it on the back page of many newspapers across the country. And once that happened, then I could do no wrong. I mean, that was the first time that really wrestling was presented as something other than wrestling.
Were
It
you
was
there?
on the back
Were you
daily
there
news
during
and
the
whatnot.
were you there during the transfer of power from junior, senior to junior?
Yes, I was.
How was that? And how was Junior towards you? Because I'm sure Junior was making a lot of major changes at the time.
Well, yeah, and he was very nice. I knew what was going to happen. He spoke to me about it, and let's just say that I was doing what I was doing, wrestling scene, wrestling all-star TV wrestler, and I said I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And he says, but soon I'm going to take over the world. And nobody believed him. Myself, I was a little reluctant about it. And I told some people about it. They said, no, that can't happen. But I knew it. He told me. And I had a chance to work with the WWF at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know how they were going to do what they were going to do. And I was happy doing what I was doing. So we had a parting of the ways. That's all.
Okay.
I got nothing bad to say. It's just what happened.
George, we've had Abdullah the Butcher in studio a few times.
Survived.
Recently, Abdullah was on Chris Jericho's podcast, which is a really, actually, a very good interview. But I was shocked to hear that Abby couldn't read or write. Did you know that, or is he just working everybody?
You know what? I've heard that just this week, and I didn't. If it's true, nobody would know it. You could not tell. He couldn't read, couldn't write. I can't believe that he couldn't read or write. I mean, it would have had a hard time traveling around the world like he did if he couldn't read, knowing where he was going. I mean, and he traveled all over the world, Japan and anywhere else you may be thinking of, and he any foreign island and many places. So that he was not able to read and write, I can't. He had to distinguish things. He had to be able to read something, to my mind. I've been with Abdullah. Abdullah, Greg Valentine, and Bushwhacker Luke are my three oldest friends. I've known them since 1972. I met Abdullah in Utica, New York, and we became friends. I went to Cleveland to something called a three-ring circus, Cleveland. They had a big match, three rings set up on. He said, "Oh, next week I'm going to be in Canada. You got to come see me." So me and my wife drove to Canada, to Montreal, and that's where I met Bushwhacker Luke. And at the same time I met Johnny. It was Greg. Greg was wrestling as Johnny Fargo. He was one of the Fargo brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's when I met him. I met Abdullah then in '72, and we were in Puerto Rico, Japan, Trinidad, Curacao, Martinique. I can't name how many places in the U.S. I was with him. And at night, Abdullah would dress up to the nines. He would go out, suit, tie, everything after the matches. And he always liked to go out, always had a good time. Used to go to many of the casinos and other places, Puerto Rico and all around the world. You know.
George, there's so many people in this industry now. Do you feel that social media has possibly ruined pro wrestling? I mean, everybody's behind the curtain. I mean, take us, for example. I mean, you know.
Well, I find it amazing that everybody knows everything. Every 10 minutes on Twitter, there's a new scoop.
Right.
I can't see how that is, but it is. It's just the way it is. People want to hear it or write about it or talk it or be it. But everybody thinks they really know. When deep down, the people that are doing it themselves don't know all the time what they're going to do from moment to moment. So to say that they know what's going on, I don't buy it. I don't get it. I didn't live it. I mean, what I did, there was like 3-4 of us who kind of knew what was going on, but we didn't tell the world what it was. We might have spoken to each other, and then we didn't really know, quote unquote, know what was going on. I know I've heard people tell me, "Oh, that I knew Superstar was winning." Well, you know what? I drove Superstar to Baltimore from Long Island. He lived down Long Beach, and I drove him to Baltimore. And on the way there, he says, "Hey, you better have a lot of film tonight." I says, "A lot of film? You're wrestling Bruno." He says, "Oh yeah, it'll be a good match." I says, "I'm tired of you and Bruno. I have more pictures than I can ever use."
There you go.
That's how he told me that he was winning. Tonight's gonna be different. I said, "Yeah, come on, Billy. It's gonna be too different." And that was my knowledge driving from Long Island to Baltimore. And he wasn't trying to keep it away from me. He was trying to tell me, but I couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
Right.
Were you in shock that night? Like, did you drop your camera?
I was more in shock that with like the rest of the crowd, they just like it was like a hush. Nobody knew what went on. I think if I remember correctly, Billy had his foot on the ropes or he pinned him. Usually, what happens when something like that is the referee then recalls it, or the announcer would say, due to some technicality, Bruno. I'm sorry, Bruno. Bruno is still the champion.
Right.
You know, like they would make some kind of announcement if something went on. But he calls me and says, "We got to get out of here." So as soon as the match was over, I had to run to the back. He didn't take a shower. He didn't do anything. He put his clothes on. We drove right back to New York.
Wow.
And
So
the
I'm
next
glad
day was his
Farrell-
birthday.
I'm glad Farrell brought up the whole social media thing, right? Because, again, like we told you at the beginning of the show, we're just fans, right, that have a show.
Yeah.
We don't know who's real, who's fake, you know.
Yeah.
So we run across a lot of different people, and they have all these stories. Like, clearly everybody knows who you are. Like, you know, whether you want to call yourself an icon, that's up for debate. We're calling you icon because you are. But
Thank you.
But
True.
there's other people that make statements. So it's like, you don't know who's Fugazi. So I'm going to throw a name at you and tell me if you know anything about this guy and help us out. And maybe if you have a story about him.
Can I plead the fifth on some?
You could plead the fifth on all you want.
If you want, That's fine.
I'm just going to give you one name because I hear this guy's name and I don't know what he's about, and I need someone clarity. So we had John Arizzi in, and John Arizzi, we call him like the godfather of events, and clearly he did such a good job. But there's another guy that comes up every so often, and I need someone of your expertise to help me with this. Dr. Mike Lano.
John Arizzi's friend.
Oh, I don't know.
Is that what? Hey, wait a minute. That's what he's famous for? Never mind. Thank you. Thanks, George. We got what we needed.
Do you know Dr. Mike Lano?
Of course.
Is he the real deal?
I haven't seen him in a couple years.
Does he call you in the middle of the night?
But he was around. He was around a long time.
Okay.
But as far as traveling, he went to Japan early on a couple times.
Couple of
But
times.
as far as like traveling through the different territories and knowing a lot of people, he really didn't.
Right.
But
Okay.
he knows a lot of wrestling. A lot of times just being around it, you learn through osmosis.
Right.
But
Right.
I don't think he has any first-hand knowledge of anything special through all those years.
Well, the reason I bring him up because he's always touting himself as a great photographer whenever I hear him on like, some smaller podcasts. And I'm like, who is this guy? And I've never heard of him. And I thought, you know what? Let's go to the icon
Yeah.
photographer, and if he knows the other photographer.
Yeah, he knows him as John Arizzi's friend. I'm sorry. You can plead the fifth, George. Go ahead. It's fine. It's fine.
He's been around a long time.
Okay.
He's been around a long time, and
So have I. Oy.
All right, I'll ask you one last
as
question
far
about it.
as what he knows, I really can't attest to what he really knows.
Did he fix wrestlers' teeth for free in order to get photos and sell them?
He may have done that on occasion. It sounds like something he would do.
Thank you, George.
Say
I love
cheese.
you. I forever love
George
you.
is the
Thank you.
greatest. He's the great. George, I got to ask you this though. How hard are you on yourself when it comes to your art? Did you ever like watch a match, and I'm sure many times, obviously, you've gotten great shots, but did you ever say to yourself after the match, "Damn it, I missed that shot"? Does that happen to you?
Every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I missed it. MLW Enzo, and he's endlessly talking, and my back is hurting, and it never does. So I go to the back after taking 10 minutes of Enzo talking on a mic. And in the match at MLW, they do a thing where it's the 1-2-3 kid against Razor Ramon. All of a sudden, the guy he's wrestling pins him in minutes, seconds. And I was not there, and I felt, I missed the shot. That was just last week. 2 weeks ago. Wow. But I missed it.
You have any shots that haunt you? Like, damn it.
No.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
No,
You've captured most
because I always would do. If I did a story, magazine, I'm doing a story, I knew I needed 7 to 10 photos to capture the story.
Okay.
7 photos will give me the story. 10 if I'm going to do 4 pages. But as long as I got them standing in the ring, a genuine a headshot, whatever, and then once I have an idea that I got my basic pictures, then I'll just go, just take it easy, or I'll go and try to get all kinds of crazy stuff.
So let me ask you, you obviously mentioned the great Grand Wizard. What was
Yes.
your relationship like with the other managers from that awesome time period? Freddie
Okay.
Blassie, Lou Albano. I see
And
Sir
Oliver
Oliver Humperdinck
Humperdinck.
is in that picture too.
Yeah. Okay. During the highlight era in the 70s, Madison Square Garden, I mentioned earlier, was every week. Well, I'm sorry, not every week, every month.
Right.
Every 3 to 5 weeks, depending on what the date they can get.
Right.
And at the Garden, I would drive Grand Wizard, Fred Blassie, Lou Albano, and whoever was in the main event to Madison Square Garden. I would pick them up at the hotel, and I would drive them every month to the Garden. As soon as Lou Albano got in the car, he was on, cursing at people, yelling, screaming, going insane. My car used to get rocked and shook and shaked. And he
Really?
would bang on the side door and curse at the people. He was on. So I was very friendly with all of them, and I would take all three to the garden every month. Besides taking them wherever else I would take them if they needed. I was really close with Fred Blassie too, and Freddie was getting up in age and he couldn't get around as much. And then I would have a friend sometimes drive him if he needed a ride.
George.
And Lou Albano was just as crazy as you saw him. That was Lou Albano.
That was
That
Lou,
was Lou
huh?
Albano.
That was Lou.
He was on. He was on from the moment the moment he woke up. He was on.
He lived
was
the-
Lou-
he lived the
was
gimmick.
Yeah, and he says, "I'm Captain Lou Albano. Captain. I was the captain of my football team. No one could take that name away from me." And that was Captain Lou Albano.
That was Captain Lou. So we're talking about behind the curtain stuff. As you know, there's that show Dark Side of the Ring that comes on
Yes.
every year. What are your thoughts about that? And I'm going to name a few episodes. Just give me your feedback. I know you're a huge Ric Flair guy. How did you feel about the plane ride from hell?
Okay. I think what Tommy Dreamer said and got chastised for was the real answer. It was Rick being Rick. They've seen it before. It wasn't a new act. Rick was always Rick all the time. He would try to, for lack of a better word, show off, whatever. Just Rick being Rick. I know Tommy Dreamer said that, and he lost his position on Busted Open and Impact for a little bit. But they shouldn't have done what they did. But that's how it was at that time. I mean, look, Rick would go on TV and say, "Tonight, the Marriott," and that was it. And,
Right.
And the place would be mobbed.
Yep.
And people knew what they were there for. Let's leave it at that.
It's too bad you were married. You could have went to the Marriott too.
Would
I-
you please?
There you go.
Boy, it's a
Smart
good thing
man.
there was nobody taking photographs, huh, George?
All right, that's true.
That's
That's unbelievable.
All right,
Oh,
how
my
about
Lord.
Snooker Nancy Argentina?
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
okay.
Oh boy.
I was in Allentown that night into the next day when it happened. I knew her. She was a friend of Johnny Rod. Johnny Rod's girlfriend, later wife, was her good friend.
Okay.
And she introduced him to snooker. She introduced Johnny Rod's Johnny Rod's wife was friends with Nancy, and she introduced Nancy to snooker.
Right.
What went on behind closed doors, I didn't know. They used to come to all the local matches in Brooklyn and Long Island and Queens and Staten Island just because they were around. I mean, what am I going to say? It happened,
Right.
and it shouldn't have happened, but it happened.
Right.
But I'm sure there were others, and now if you're a baseball player and you do something, you can lose your career or get 80 games suspended or what happens.
All right, the last one. Chris Benoit and Nancy.
Chris Benoit and Nancy. Okay. Do you want the go back story, or you just want the?
We want whatever you
give
got
me
to
the whole
offer.
thing you got.
Whatever you got to offer.
Okay.
Give me anything you got
Well-
on Kevin Sullivan, my friend.
Kevin, I knew Kevin 74 maybe, first started. Kevin was, and to this day, is one of my best friends in the business.
Kevin's awesome.
So let's just say that.
Yep.
It was 80 something or whatever. See, to me, everything gets squashed. Everything is compressed. I don't know what date. I don't know what match. I can't tell you who was on this WrestleMania. I mean, as I said earlier, I watch everything through the circle. So everything's one big mishmash. So in the 80s, at some point, for my Wrestling All-Star magazine, we had Billy Jack Haynes, world's sexiest wrestler. And I posed Billy Jack Haynes in Florida, in Orlando. And I had a girl on this arm and a girl on that arm. And one of the girls went on to marry Slash of Guns N' Roses. And the other girl was Nancy. Kevin Sullivan is in the dressing room where I was, watching me this whole time. And he says, "Where'd you get that girl from?" I says, "She sells programs outside." He says, "What?" I says, "Yes, she sells the programs." he says, how do you know her? I says, how don't you know her? So I took the pictures, and then I introduced Kevin to Nancy. And what happens is Kevin tells her, I want to make you one of my people. I want to make you my fallen angel. And Nancy said, no, I don't want to. I have nothing to do with that. I'm married. So eventually, Kevin, every week, and it was weekly, he would go to Orlando, and every time we would be there, he would see her and say, why don't you come? Come, I need you to be my fallen angel. Nancy would say no. And then eventually, a couple months later, she drove to Tampa, where they were having TV, found Kevin and said, I'm here. What are you going to do? I want to be fallen angel. Well, Kevin had to go to Eddie Graham and then Mike Graham and explain to him what he wanted to do. And that's how she became the fallen angel. That's part one of the story. And then later, she then gets married with Kevin. And then Kevin is the booker, as you probably know. He's the booker with WCW and books the match with Chris Benoit. And the winner would get Nancy. Nancy would go to wherever the winner is. So Kevin lost the match, and so Chris Benoit now has control of Nancy. And Kevin, to make it look real, booked Nancy in the hotel where Benoit was, and we'd be in another hotel. Well, things just happened, and Chris Benoit got together with Nancy without Kevin. And then she divorced Kevin, married Chris, and that's how they got together. And whatever happened was very, very unfortunate. I think Chris snapped, and went crazy. And people were blaming Kevin. There was an undercurrent of blame to Kevin, saying that Kevin was the one who did it, for what happened, but he wasn't the one who did it for any reason. And whatever happened, I don't know what happened, but I know what happened as everyone else does. But I had pictures of Kevin and Chris and Nancy. It was on the news, on the Post, the news, the what have you. Pictures of them, because I had them. I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, it does.
Nope, that's
it does. All right, so George, we're almost out of time. We're going to hit you with something called the Pharaoh's Final Question.
Oh, no.
Where Jimmy Farrow,
no.
unscripted,
Yep.
comes up with any type of question.
It's a
He's been
ridiculous
known
question.
to ask people if they like
Stop.
boxers or briefs,
Boxers or
ketchup or
brief.
mustard, whatever it's going to be.
Ketchup or
So
mustard.
have at it, Jimmy.
You know, it's funny. I usually ask a serious question, but since you did it, I'm going to do it this one time. And bear with me, George. You're the teacher, and I want you to grade this student as a photographer. Felix Unger, pass or fail?
pass.
He passes
tried
Felix
hard.
Unger.
Wow.
Interesting.
He tried hard. He worked hard. He wanted to get that image, and I always remember one of the openings where they opened the door and he's developing with the negative and it spoiled all the pictures, and it reminds me of a couple times that I was developing photos and the door opens and all the pictures that I took destroyed.
Oscar. Excellent. He's passing the great Tony Randall.
All right,
Nice.
George.
Nice.
The Mount
Rushmore of what?
Of
Photographers?
not photographers.
what? Him,
Your
him,
Mount
and him.
Rushmore of
Yeah.
professional wrestling, please.
Ooh, give us 4 of your. That
Oh, that's a
belong on the
hard.
mountain.
That's
It
you
could be
know-
your era, whatever you feel belongs up there.
I've done this a few times, several times. In
Oh.
fact, I think first of all, Andre the Giant.
Okay,
Andre,
sure.
he's known as the wrestler. Andre, everybody knows Andre just from being Andre. I think Andre, I have to say Bruno Sammartino. And again, you're going to, depending on your age, the Mount Rushmore changes. I think The Rock belongs on there. Maybe not as high, but for what he did in the 90s. And then Hulk Hogan.
Okay. He said Hulk Hogan, so
I know I'm
we're
missing
good.
people.
Yeah, no, that's as long as you said Hogan.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I don't think at this point he gets the credit he deserves. I mean, he did what he did. And Everything is built off of Hulk Hogan. Seriously,
Yeah.
he
Yep.
he promulgated it. He carried it forward, and he made it very popular. And to this day, the people don't like. For some reason, he doesn't have that oomph anymore that he had.
Right.
He should.
Yeah, well, he does to those who remember him as great as he
Yeah.
was during the day. It's these independent marks today that want to see a cartwheel fest. They pick on a guy like Hulk Hogan. He doesn't do enough athletically. He's just a showman. Isn't that half of the trick?
I know. See, we're running out of time, but that you just made me think of something. I remember seeing Mil Mascaras, and Mascaras against Superstar Graham in the Garden was great.
yeah.
Mascaras was probably one of my favorites. I mean, he was so colorful and so good. But to today's standards, Mascaras does nothing.
Right. Right.
But if it wasn't for what little that Mascaras did, and it was a lot at that time,
Sure.
we wouldn't get Rey Mysterio and all these others doing what they do.
Sure. I think it even begins with Antonino Rocca, quite honestly. Some of the things-
For sure. Anthony Rocca.
George, Rick Allen, Sunny Beach, says hello.
Oh,
He's a friend of the show.
please, that's my good man.
There we go.
He's
Sonny,
one of the great guys. We want to thank
I
you,
used to
George,
love
for coming
Sonny.
on, and thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time. It's our honor, and
I hope I answered your questions.
you were
I'll
fantastic.
try.
You were
Absolutely.
fantastic.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Anything you want to say to the fans before you cut out?
Well, just keep on following it, and I've enjoyed professional wrestling over 50 years, even longer than that from when I was a kid, and it was just something that I enjoy. Just keep on watching, and don't worry about what somebody else thinks about somebody. If you have your favorite, that's your favorite.
Is it okay to cry for a professional wrestler?
Say no.
I'm sure there have been.
George, thank you again, and what an honor it was to have you on our show. Thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you, George. Take care.
Bye now.
The great George Napolitano, my friend.
Damn. That was awesome.
And here we go from a legend in the pro wrestling world
To a future.
to a future possible legend in the pro wrestling
There we
world.
go.
So this is our first time, Pharaoh, actually really working with an independent on the couch across.
There
So
we
this
go.
is also an honor for us.
Yeah.
So
there
for
we
the
go.
fans who may
Thanks,
not
bro.
know who you are, tell them who you are and where you came from in professional wrestling.
I just go by Ting.
Ting.
I was training in Syracuse, and I've wrestled around the area, Utica, around upstate. But yeah, it's just cool because I came here when I was young, when I was 11.
You're from China?
Yeah, I came from China.
The age of 11, you came here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I never heard of professional wrestling until I just happened to watch it. Like it was right before WrestleMania 29, I believe.
Okay.
It was the Cena versus Rock.
Cena versus Rock.
It was that match, yeah. And my uncle just happened to play it like prior, like a show before.
And you were drawn to this match.
Yeah. It was a little after. At first, it was funny because I watched Rey Mysterio wrestle
Okay.
at first, and Chris Jericho for some reason he was. Yeah.
For a lot of
it was
reasons.
Yeah, it was a weird combo. It was like a tag match.
Mhm.
But I just instantly drawn into him like, oh, this is really cool. And even though my uncle tried, it's like, oh, this is like. It's real and all this stuff, and I was talking about it. I was like, oh, okay, I can. It's just really cool to me because it's almost like it's like art how I see it,
Of course.
and it's even cooler.
Ting, do me a favor. Get a little closer to the mic. The fans want to hear you. Thank you.
Is that good?
Yeah, but feel comfortable. Just,
Okay. Yeah.
go ahead.
You can promo out on us. It's all right to raise your voice, brother. Anyway. Go ahead.
But yeah, because I started training for wrestling, some of my family members in China actually started to like get into wrestling, and it's just cool to see that because it's so new over there. Like most people have never heard it.
Right.
And just the product is different, I'll say, because I had to go back and watch some of the older products to see how it changed over time.
Respectfully, I have to ask this, though. Is this like a government thing that you were not aware of wrestling? Because Japan is right there, and Japan loves wrestling.
I know.
So was this like something that the government didn't really want the populace to be watching or something?
I don't know how valid this answer is, but
Okay.
from what I've heard, the reason why wrestling is such a like banned thing almost in
Okay.
China, it's getting better because they apparently they have this perspective of wrestling how they're still in the Attitude Era.
Oh,
They still think there's a lot of like,
puppies?
yeah,
Okay,
that
yeah,
and a lot
okay.
of cursing, a lot
Right,
of like,
right.
like things they don't want to show on TV.
Sure.
But I think recent because of how WWE have changed over the years, they have been they're more open with that now. So like you can actually stream it. You can actually watch the pay-per-views in China now.
Ting, Maria Davis out there wants to know who's your favorite wrestler.
My it's so hard. I would have to say probably like Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy. Who are you
Yeah.
patterning yourself after? Your style? Is it a Jeff Hardy style? What kind of style are you shooting for?
Well, better yet, to enhance that question a little
Sure,
bit,
enhance it.
fans want to come watch you wrestle. What kind of match are they going to see?
There you go.
I would say I focus on a little bit of everything. I want a lot of people might know me as like more of a high flying style. People
Right.
have seen me wrestle, but I want to be more of a add more to my wrestling style and be more of like a all around. Like I would say, I kind of study a lot of AJ Styles tape.
He's great.
And one of the recent wrestlers like Seth Rollins.
He's great.
Yeah.
They're great.
But if it comes to my favorite, I think it has to be Jeff. Just because those dives off the ladders really got me, really hooked me wrestling.
So, Tink, we come from, we're talking to George, who's a little older than us, but we come from an age where pro wrestlers are big guys, right? And as wrestling has changed, right, the wrestlers, in a lot of cases, have become smaller. What are your feelings about that, being a younger wrestling fan? Do you feel that wrestling's more like a show now and you don't have to be that way? Or do you feel at some point, if you want to make it in your career, you're going to have to start hitting the gas?
See, that I feel like to a certain extent you need to have legitimacy and like I feel like naturally depends on how big we're talking about, because overall people have like the locker rooms I've been in seems to tend to be on the smaller side compared to what my trainer have told me. That it sounds like everyone was just tall, but I feel like at a certain point it's really based on what you got going. I think if you're a really skilled wrestler and you have other things like going for you, maybe not, but I can see some people would think that's like a good choice to pick.
Well, a 200-pounder can play 250 if he's got the right extra attributes going on with his charisma, his style, whatever it may be. You don't have to be 250, but you could play 250.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Do you want to make professional wrestling your career?
I would like to, yeah. It's something I instantly fell in love with. I definitely want to see how far I can go with this.
So again, we haven't been around indie wrestling in a while, and really since we've been doing the show.
Sure.
When you get booked on a show, walk the fans through how it is to be an independent wrestler now, trying to get yourself booked on shows, and are you doing stuff for free? Like, how does this whole thing work?
It's the whole process of talking to promoters is really interesting, and it can get kind of complicated at times.
I bet.
Yeah, I had to learn to like deal with. I got really lucky. The school that I came from, we had some experienced wrestlers that really guided me. Mike Skyrose is one of them.
You told me off the air that some of them were linked back to Killer Kowalski.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That's good.
Our school is called Institute of Professional Wrestling, and my trainer actually trained with Kowalski.
Right.
And we actually it's fun because we learn a lot of Kowalski stuff during our trainings. But back to the question. I'm sorry. Could you?
Well, take us through
take us through trying to get yourself booked on a show, that type of thing.
Right. I mean, depends on where you work at. I feel like there are promotions out there. You just have to show up. And you might get a spot on like a battle royale or some kind of spot.
So, for example, you see an independent show, you're like, okay, I'm getting out of school at this time. I'm going to go to that show, and hopefully the promoter say, and you just bring your gear and you just say, hey, I'm here if you need me.
Well, you need most of the time you will need to like prove that you have trained somewhere, at least have some kind of training to your background. But if you want to get booked into like one of the
Well, slow down for a second. I'm a promoter. How do you prove to me that you've got training?
for me,
Is there a card? They give you some kind of
I
passport?
heard
Yeah, you got like a
used to
diploma
certify
from the
you.
Wrestling Institute. I'm curious.
Yeah, like what are they giving you?
I mean, I tell them that I trained at the school,
Right.
and they know my trainers.
They recognize names. If you
Yeah.
mention these names, they know you couldn't probably just make this up out of a.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Or could you?
Yeah.
You could. If
You
you're,
could.
If you're from the Boondocks, you
And I'm a
could.
promoter, and some dude comes in and says, "Hey, I'm willing to work for free," and I'm like, "Oh, fuck it, yeah,
Right.
come on in, let's do it."
Right.
That happens a lot of times, and sometimes they don't. It's weird. I did happen. The first couple times I got on shows, I was traveling with my people that have trained at my school that been there for a while. So they were already legitimate. They've been wrestling the promotion for a while. So they kind of gave them word. Oh, he's been training. He's pretty decent. Give him a shot. But yeah, I mean, the ones that don't like, it'd be very difficult if you don't, if you're not from a school that's well known or have someone that can bring you into the industry. But yeah, I mean, if you just stick around a lot, especially at one promotion, and you do your pay your dues, kind of, the rain crew and stuff like that. Maybe you never know, Like I was always told, bring your stuff. You never know what kind of opportunities you
Right.
get.
Right. But you have set up the ring. You do things like that.
Oh, I have, yeah.
Good. Nice. You got it. You got to pay your dues
All
one
right, so
way
we're
or the
gonna
other.
test your knowledge. Now you got a lot of people watching.
Test his knowledge.
Yeah, no, because you got it. Because this.
He knew how to get
Listen,
here
with
from
all-
4
with all-
hours away.
With
I
all
mean,
due respect, here's the deal.
Okay.
I'm not an indie guy. You know I like my wrestlers big and strong.
he loves him
right?
big and strong.
I like
Right.
this guy here, though. I do. I wouldn't bring him
you.
on the show. I just told the fans. I wouldn't bring him. I like
There
him.
you go. There
But
you go.
you know what? You
He
come on
shot
this
me
show.
back there. It hurt like a bitch.
You
Go
come
ahead.
on this show. You're gonna get challenged. The wrestlers get challenged. You're gonna get challenged.
That's true. We
So
challenge-
it's on the line. You got fans watching you. There's got to show this kind of respect for the sport. So we're gonna ask you a few things.
Oh no.
If you get it wrong,
Hold on to your hi hat.
you're gonna, you might have some problems. But anyway,
What?
Best.
Good luck. What do you got?
who was the first WWF champion in the history of the WWF?
That's not fair to do to him.
Sure it is.
I don't
It
think
sure
it's fair
is.
at all. Even though I know the answer, but that's okay. Yeah, who is the first WWF champion?
All right, so we're gonna give you a pass. You missed that. We're not gonna give you
No,
the
no,
answer.
let's at least give him a clue.
No, he has to look. You have to know your history. Independent wrestler, man. You have to know your
But
history.
you asked him a WWF. Ask him an independent question. Go ahead.
Hold on.
I'm trying to help you here, Ting. I'm trying.
I'll make it a
Go
little
ahead.
easier.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Who was the second
First of
WWF?
all, much respect. Asian American.
Yeah.
Pro wrestling must be very hard, right? There's not a lot of you, and that's a lot of respect to you.
This is true.
So I'll say this. Who is the first African American tag team champions? A little more recent history.
Now, how the hell is it? This is just
Wait, you
not
said
fair.
recent, or are you talking about
Well, it's
the
pretty
first?
Was it
recent.
recent?
It's recent history. It's in the 80s.
It's in the 1980s. There's a clue for you. And they were African American. There's not a clue. That's a pretty.
By the
good-
way, Jason Moaning says Buddy Rogers is the first WWE champion.
But-
And
but-
that way he
but-
would be
but-
correct.
Yeah.
He would be
Yeah.
correct.
Bingo.
Very good,
Bingo.
Jason.
That's
Buddy
what-
Rogers. I was trying to trick you because I thought you'd say Bruno Sammartino.
I was like, nah,
But
that's not it.
It is Buddy Rogers.
Yeah, and how long did it take him to defeat him,
All right,
Bruno? Go ahead, answer that one.
29 seconds?
48, but
All right,
it's
so,
okay.
all right.
You're close.
48 seconds. Okay, ask our young rook here
What?
a question.
What am
Give
I
him something
asking him?
easier. Give him a better softball, more recent. Give him a Hardy Boys question.
Give
You
him
said
a-
Jeff Hardy was his
Give
favorite.
him a Hardy Boys
Give him a
question.
Hardy
I don't
Boy
have
question.
Hardy Boys
I can,
trivia.
Rick,
I-
you're
Who-
correct.
Which
Tony
Hardy Boy
Atlas and
drank
Rob-
too much and showed up at the pay-per-view? Which one, Matt or Jeff?
Wow.
Which pay-per-view? Wait, what you talking about?
Shit,
AEW?
Jeff got bloated at multiple pay-per-views.
Oh, my God.
You talking about AEW?
Don't you remember when Jeff
Oh,
Hardy
yeah,
got
yeah, I just-
completely
I saw
crocked
you
and
say
Sting was
that,
like,
yeah.
what the fuck is going on
Oh,
here?
oh yeah. So
Oh,
I
okay.
just
I will
saw
tell you, all the
that.
fans know that Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson were the first
Right,
African American.
right. But
Can you ask the guy?
he
more
didn't
recent
get
questions?
here till the age of 11, and you want to freaking bother him about something that happened in 1963.
right.
Go easy on
So
this
give him
fucker.
something in the 2000s.
Give him
Oh,
something in the
yeah.
2000s?
I did my
Okay,
study back
okay.
then.
Who was the first ever undisputed world heavyweight champion to combine all the belts in one night And who was it? And who did he defeat that night?
Just give him who it was.
No. I want the whole
you
thing.
Want the whole
Who
thing.
was it that unified all the titles to become the first undisputed world champion? And who did he defeat that night?
Pressure's on, bro.
There were two guys
Pressure
he defeated
is
because
on.
it was a three-way match. I'll help you a little more. WWE and WCW titles were unified that night.
Oh, you talking about this is
This is from the 2000s, so I'm giving you something in the last 20 years.
um
And don't you ever mess this up.
Matthew, you're correct, but I can't say
what
what
I
you
was
said
thinking
because
was I
I'm
thought you
waiting
were
for
talking
the
about
answer.
when Brock unified the recent title.
No, that's recent. That wasn't the first time this happened, though.
All right, Chris Jericho.
when he beat
Chris Jericho
Who'd
was
he
the
beat?
first one
Who'd he
to
beat? There
unify
were two
the
guys
title.
and
Man, this poor kid. You're killing him.
oh no, when he beat Stone Cold and The Rock.
There
The
you
same
go.
night.
He got
I
it.
actually
Ding, ding, ding,
watched
ding,
that
ding, ding,
match.
ding.
You got it.
He got it.
took a
All right,
second
here's
to
another
register.
softball. Here's
This
a
is a
softball.
softball.
What was the first time two wrestlers main evented a WrestleMania back to back?
The first time. It has. If I have
gotta
to
get
guess,
this,
I'm
brother.
guessing is Rock and Austin.
He's halfway.
It's halfway.
It's what caused you to get involved.
They get
Interested.
involved in wrestling. It's what caused you.
It's what.
Cena and
Sin
Rock.
Circuit says you got this, Tank.
It's yeah.
Cena and The Rock.
Yeah.
There you go, brother.
Yeah, they fought
There
back
you
to
go.
back. And people were mad about it. Yeah, back
I
to
thought
back.
I thought
Yeah.
you meant like the first to have a match like a rematch.
Yeah, no, they had
Whose
back to
canon
back
says
with
half
it.
credit? I agree. You only get half credit.
This is very rough,
I'm
guys.
sorry.
Yeah, I think this is
Yeah, no,
absolutely
that's fair.
unfair.
But Tink, seriously,
Unfair.
Yeah.
very impressed by you. Talked to you on the phone. Someone goes to an indie, right? Times are tough. Don't have a ton of money. They pay their money to go watch you wrestle. Tell them what they're going to see from bell to bell from you.
It's really when I get in that ring, I just want to put on the best show and I want to be better each time. I always work on my craft and try to add something new to my match each time. So you'll see something new from me every time I say I want to add something to. I have messed stuff up at first, but I've been getting better at it, and it's just you'll get everything out of me.
You prefer being a heel or a face? What have you been so far?
The thing is,
Because I want
all
to
the
turn you
promo-
into a heel,
I
quite honestly.
I would love to play a heel.
Yeah, I
but
think we need to.
Most people, most of the promoters likes me as a babyface.
That's because you're coming in clean shaven. We got to do something with your mug. No, I'm going to make you evil. That's why we should make him evil, don't you think?
Should wear like a goat.
the one time I played a heel, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, there you go.
Where can people see you now?
You can see me at New York Championship Wrestling.
Nice.
Nice. Immortal Championship Wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and Flower City is in Rochester.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those are I think all of them are on YouTube. You can find them.
Right, right.
Um,
Oh, there's plenty of wrestling
Do you
upstate.
ever come down to the
Definitely.
island at all? Or are you ever in Queens?
Yeah, actually, not in Long Island, but I did wrestle. My first match actually was in Rhode Island.
Okay.
It was in the XWA. And I don't know if you guys heard of him. I wrestled Richard Holiday.
Okay.
That was my first match.
How'd it go?
It was fast.
Were you nervous as shit? You must have been.
Sin Circuit wants us to tell you you're doing great. You are doing great.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So, but one problem, we do have a wrestling friend out there by the name of Andrew Anderson. He's seen you wrestle, and
Okay.
he really can't commit to tell whether you're good or bad. But that's Andrew. He can't make a decision.
Yeah.
It's a
He's from
joke.
he's from Switzerland. So he plays it right down the middle.
So, how much longer you have in school?
I'm currently a sophomore, so I have 2 more years. But my plans are going longer with more school. But we'll see how it goes. I guess wrestling still is something I would like to do.
So when you graduate, you going to go all out wrestling? Are you going to try to follow this dream? Are you going to go, okay, I'm going to graduate and just see if this works out?
Yeah, my plan is still like I will always have like a plan B just in case.
That's smart.
But I would like to see, especially in the next 2 years before I graduate, what I can do, and if I can go somewhere with this.
What's your take when you see Ring of Honor purchased by AEW, where you're almost like, damn it, because I know you want to get to that next level.
Yeah.
And that next level is like a Ring of Honor or you know, one of those companies that take you closer to Vince McMahon and such.
Right.
You know, what's your thoughts on AEW, like purchasing Ring of Honor? Is that like one less option for you, or are you thinking like, how do I get to the doors of TNA? I mean, is that in your plan to like try to like knock on doors till your knuckles bleed? Because sometimes you got to do shit like that.
Yeah. I feel like at some point I would want to do that, but at first I want to just improve on what I have now. I mean,
Okay.
I'm still young, and there's certain matches I would still like to learn in the ring and wrestle more in front of audience. But I think it's not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion, the purchase, because I feel like it kind of creates more competition in the business, and I feel like if you are good, if you're truly good at what you do,
It'll shine
someone will notice you,
Yeah.
and it will show.
Well, a good point is Maria Davis says you're cute, so that's a first
Dude,
step right
maybe
there.
you should leave the
Maybe you
clean-shaven
should
face.
stay clean
Yeah,
shaven.
maybe we'll just keep him as your baby face then. What do you think, Maria?
Hey, I can't grow
Weigh in.
facial hair, man.
You can't grow facial hair?
Hey, I made
Get a
it,
magic
man.
marker.
It don't
Somebody in the
work
room.
like that. I tried.
Phil says match of the week, Ting versus Ming.
Ting versus Ming? Bro. Yo, get him some gas, like right now, if you're going to deal with Ming.
All right, Ting, why don't you hang in there? We want to announce the upcoming guest
right.
next week. We have Greg the Hammer Valentine in studio
Wow.
with Tito Santana
Oh, my God.
on that couch.
Together.
Former feuding rivals for the Intercontinental
Yeah,
title
they didn't like
together
each other.
for the first time. I think they did it one time before, but I can't even confirm that.
Right.
So we may be the first time, right?
Right.
And
Awesome. Just awesome.
then the following Friday, I think, we
Right.
have
What do we got?
the great Coco Beware in studio.
Okay.
What do you know about Coco Beware, Ting?
Uh,
Not much?
Not much, but I was just gonna say Tino Santana. He was at one of the shows I was at. I didn't get to meet him, but I heard a lot of great things about him.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
man.
were you aware of who he was?
Oh
when you-
yeah, of course.
Okay.
I was so yeah.
I bet the whole locker room was like,
Then
Tito.
we got Tommy Wildfire Rich
Oh,
that
the
Friday.
former
You know anything about
NWA
Tommy
World
Wildfire
Champion.
Rich?
Former
Sorry to
NWA
disappoint
World
you.
Tommy,
Champion.
man.
5 days as champion, was hot as a, couldn't get hotter
Mm-hmm.
in the world of pro wrestling for that time.
I'll tell you, though, that's the beauty of it, though. He was champion for 5 days. He's a legend.
All right, now you got to be careful
It's
this one
amazing.
because I'm about to make an announcement. If you say you don't know who this guy is, we're gonna have to just kick you out of the
Ting,
building,
just say you
okay?
know who this guy is.
All right.
That's all. It's simple.
We've
You
got the former governor of Minnesota, one half of the East-West connection, one of the greatest sports announcers of all time,
know. Yep.
Jesse, and host of The Body Shop. Jesse the Body Ventura is in studio. You got it.
Okay,
right?
yeah. We had recognition there. There we go. All right.
So this is a.
This is insane.
Oh, crap.
This
I mean,
lineup is just one Hall of Famer.
This
is
was the
insane.
moment of my life having you on the couch right now, but that trumps it. So
This is so rough. He drove 4 hours to hear that. You can throw something if you want. We've had shit thrown at us. It's okay. Just don't come over here though, because then we get crazy. It's just
and the
Right.
top off the
what?
top off tonight, we've got one.
He's
half-
coming to Long Island and wrestling.
We've
We
got
have
the
to make this happen.
The Conquistadors will be on the couch.
Is Jose okay though?
Don't know yet. so
Because
I
to
don't know for
me,
sure.
it's a half a conquistador without Jose Estrada. I love
a
him.
half a
I
conquistador.
want Jose Estrada to be well and here.
You have a tag team partner, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
And what's the name of your tag team?
Our tag team name's Black and Yellow.
Why is it black and yellow?
Depends on who you ask. I mean,
Well, I'm asking you.
I'm asking a member of
you
the
ask
team.
him, maybe we'll say that we might have different answers, but I like to wear black.
Okay.
He wears yellow.
Okay.
He wears gold.
But tonight you're wearing black and yellow.
Oh yeah, I know.
He's very
100%.
team coordinated.
May I ask what color is your tag team partner?
Oh, he's black.
Oh, interesting. So I get it. You wear black, he wears yellow. You call it black.
That
and yellow.
is
Or it could be
that
that
is
he's-
hilarious.
Or
I
it could
love
be
it.
the other way.
I
Is that
love
what you're
it.
saying?
I mean, I don't know. People ask me that all the time. I come
Well, I
up
got to
with
tell you,
that
your
all the
tag
time.
team is not quite PC, my friend.
Ay, 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 ay.
Hey, the kids love us.
There you go.
Got little
So what
kids
are we
wearing
calling
black and
ourselves?
yellow
Honky and Caucasian? I mean, what the fuck away? I can't anymore. I really fucking can't. Honky, dummy. I can't anymore. Oh,
All right.
my Lord.
Ting, I want to thank you for coming
thank you
down.
and bless
You're
you for coming down
fantastic.
here, bro. I mean, 4
We're
hours,
going to ask
man.
you to
Jeez.
send the show out.
Oh, wow.
Before you Just to make sure.
What?
Do you remember the name of the show?
Oh yeah. Of course.
All right, cool. All right.
You've been watching Hogan and Adonis, and until next week, later, brother.
You've been watching
Hogan and
I
Adonis?
don't really remember. Ting, send us out, brother.
You've been watching Monte and DeFaro.
That's us.
And,
Yeah, later.
this is the number 1 ranked Long Island podcast.
Yeah.
from Wregret.
Broadcast, but you almost had it.
in the
all right.
world.
And I just heard from what you guys said. Over 100,000 weekly viewers.
Yeah,
That's
there
right.
you go.
And it won't even get better from here.
And no, guess what? They're going to see you, those 100,000 people.
That's right.
Now,
That's right.
tomorrow,
That's right.
Day after.
and forever. But catch Ting with his partner or by himself. I kind of want to watch Black and Yellow, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah,
with
you'd be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys got a theme song?
Oh yeah, of course.
What
Black
is
and
it?
Yellow by Wiz Khalifa.
Oh, there you go. Black and Yellow. How did I know?
That's perfect.
I'm pretty smart. Huh?
Yeah, you're pretty Fort Smeller.
This is Mike Monty.
This is DeFaro.
That's Ting.
That's Ting.
Oh,
And
we
it's-
also want to thank
Yeah, what do you
the
got?
great George Napolitano
Oh my God, that was
for
fantastic.
joining us.
Yep. And until next week, folks. Later.